there is no way we are going to this event now. There's a 0% chance. First and foremost, why are you saying but anybody can go to it? You just buy a ticket to the event, and you're all working to try to get me to confirm that I'm going. And you're doing this as if you're trying to like push my buttons and be like, we got to make her get into her ego so she like shows up and like posts it on social media. Nope, actually, while I'm attacking the feds, maybe not going to a public event, which the feds are organizing, is probably a very good idea. I'm good. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna listen to Power on my headphones and go see Ye. How's that for a memorial for Charlie Kirk? That feels like the right thing for me to do right now.
Recent statements from Candace Owens and Jaguar Wright have raised questions about the official narrative surrounding Charlie Kirk's death. Both public figures have expressed skepticism about the investigation, suggesting that there may be more to the story than has been publicly disclosed. Candace Owens might have been onto something all along, because Jaguar Wright just backed up a lot of what Candace has been screaming about Charlie Kirk's suspicious death. Candace has been shouting that something was off, and now Jaguar stepping up with claims that make the whole thing smell rotten. The controversy began when the FBI took over the investigation from local authorities. While this would normally be standard procedure for a high-profile case involving a public figure, Candace Owens has questioned the federal agency's motives and transparency in handling the investigation. In a pointed statement on social media, Owens wrote, "The feds immediately interjected and took over the case from local police departments. If they had wanted to catch Charlie's killer, they would have immediately publicized all pictures and videos, and the internet would have solved it in minutes. The desire was never there." Owens' skepticism was heightened by her decision to skip Kirk's memorial service, a choice she explained was motivated by safety concerns.
I said there is no way we are going to this event now. There's a 0% chance. First and foremost, why are you saying but anybody can go to it? You just buy a ticket to the event, and you're all working to try to get me to confirm that I'm going. And you're doing this as if you're trying to like push my buttons and be like, we got to make her get into her ego so she like shows up and like posts it on social media. Nope, actually, while I'm attacking the feds, maybe not going to a public event, which the feds are organizing, is probably a very good idea. I'm good. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna listen to Power on my headphones and go see Ye. How's that for a memorial for Charlie Kirk? That feels like the right thing for me to do right now.
This statement has fueled speculation about potential threats or concerns that may have influenced her decision to avoid the public memorial, adding another layer of intrigue to the already complex situation. Her suggestion that attending the event might put her at risk has been interpreted by some as an indication that she believes powerful forces might be watching her movements, or potentially targeting those who question the official narrative. The timing of Owens' statements is particularly notable, given her previous relationship with Kirk and his organization. As a former colleague and ideological ally, her willingness to publicly question the circumstances surrounding his death represents a significant departure from the unified front, often presented by political associates in times of tragedy. The FBI's handling of the case has become a central point of contention for those questioning the official narrative. The federal agency released a statement confirming their involvement, noting that Salt Lake City special agents and personnel responded right away, and that full resources are on deck, from tactical teams to intel units. Critics have questioned why, if the FBI was immediately involved with substantial resources, certain aspects of the investigation appear to remain unresolved or unclear. Candace Owens has specifically pointed to what she perceives as a lack of transparency regarding evidence that might normally be released to the public.
It's clear we're not getting all the information. It's clear something's off here. The first person, the old man, I don't even know why he was grabbed. But he was grabbed and his picture was funneled out. And then there was someone else who was a person of interest. And that didn't work. And then we got this guy. He had a bulletproof vest that might have caught the exit. Really? That's interesting. That's definitely an interesting point of view. But what kind of bulletproof vest are you talking about? Because usually bulletproof vests, they cover your front, they cover your back. There's points of vulnerability on the sides usually. I haven't seen too many. I mean, was he wearing like hardcore Kevlar? Like fully body casted? That's wild. Nobody mentioned that yet. Military grade. He was wearing military grade. I don't know. It's funny. Seems like they might have mentioned that.
But I don't want to even get into the whole thing with the GUN being dismantled, the guy jumping off of the roof without the, weapon. This whole thing looks fishy. And that's why I said, I always say this. I say, I'd rather get all the information first, then make a comment. But yeah, it's just real fishy. Of course. They say
we have a right to question the validity of it. And it's got to pass the smell test. There's something wrong with all of this. And everyone is starting to pick it out piece by piece, thread by thread. Everyone is starting to see something's wrong here. The question is, why?
And that's a really good question, because if the feds are really...
The specificity of these questions reflects a broader concern about the coherence of the official narrative. Critics suggest that if the details don't align with typical understanding of how such equipment functions, it raises questions about the accuracy of other aspects of the investigation. These inconsistencies in the official narrative have provided fodder for those who believe there may be more to the story than has been publicly disclosed. While authorities maintain that the investigation is following standard procedures, the questions continue to mount, particularly regarding the timeline of events, the identification of suspects, and the physical evidence collected at the scene. Candace Owens has suggested that Kirk's death may be connected to tensions with powerful figures rather than being a random act of violence. According to her statements, Kirk had encountered difficulties with certain billionaire donors in the weeks leading up to his death. Candace even claimed that just weeks before Charlie died, he'd run into trouble with some billionaires who allegedly put pressure on him and even threatened him. She says Charlie was beefing with some heavy hitters he'd taken money from over topics he was pushing, and the stress was real. This narrative suggests a potential motive beyond random violence or ideological extremism. If Kirk was indeed experiencing conflicts with financial backers, it could introduce complex dynamics regarding his organizational decisions and public positions. The implication is that these tensions might have escalated beyond typical donor-recipient disagreements. Some of these alleged tensions reportedly involved disagreements over content and platform access. According to posts shared by Owens, Kirk was about to lose his last big donor because he refused to ban Tucker Carlson from events. This specific claim introduces a concrete point of contention that, if accurate, could have represented a significant financial and strategic challenge for Kirk's organization. Owens has further suggested that the coming weeks might reveal more information. Now she's saying the next 2 weeks will spill receipts, messages will leak, and the movement he built might roar back to life. This forward-looking statement implies that Owens believes additional evidence exists and will eventually become public, potentially changing the understanding of what happened. The FBI has acknowledged that they are investigating potential radicalization elements, with one official stating they're focused on the radicalization element. This includes examining chat logs, dark web activity, and the suspect's connections. However, critics like Owens suggest this approach might be misdirected or incomplete. Owens has directly challenged the official investigation, stating that the truth won't be hidden, buried, or classified, and suggesting that receipts might drop any minute. This confrontational stance toward federal authorities has raised eyebrows, but also garnered support from those who share her skepticism. The suggestion that billionaire interests might be involved adds another layer of complexity to an already complicated case. It raises questions about potential conflicts between public advocacy and private financial interests in political movements, and whether such conflicts could escalate to violence. Adding Adding to the complexity of the situation, the family of the alleged suspect has publicly questioned his involvement in the incident. These statements have further fueled speculation about the accuracy of the official narrative. The suspect's grandmother made particularly notable comments, saying, "My son, his dad is a Republican for Trump. Most of my family members are Republicans. I don't know any single one who's a Democrat. I'm just so confused. I don't think he ever shy. To tell you the truth, he doesn't hunt. He's never liked anything like that. I know he doesn't own any. There's just no way he could have been that good." She further emphasized, "There's absolutely no way he did that. I watched that child grow up and I can't imagine it would ever be him. And I'm not just saying that as his grandma, it's because I know him." These statements from a close family member directly contradict the profile that would typically be expected of someone involved in such an incident. The grandmother's insistence that the suspect had no history with firearms and no ideological motivation to target Kirk has been particularly compelling for those questioning the official story. Questions have also been raised about text messages allegedly exchanged between the suspect and his roommate. Critics have suggested these messages seem suspicious, describing them as Tyler confessing out of nowhere, detailing how he unalived Charlie, engraving bullets, and even pointing out the exact spot he left the weapon. The convenience and comprehensiveness of these alleged messages have been cited as reasons for skepticism. Convenient, right? Almost too convenient. But the public wasn't buying it. People started whispering that Candace might have been right from the jump because the math just wasn't mathing. Jaguar Wright has been particularly vocal about these aspects of the case, reportedly stating that Charlie's death wasn't just random, it was orchestrated, and suggesting that the leaked texts were nothing but a distraction, a cheap cover story to keep the public looking at the wrong people while the real players slip into the shadows. Wright's involvement has added another dimension to the story, as she brings her own following and credibility to the questions being raised. Her willingness to publicly align with Owens' perspective suggests the skepticism extends beyond partisan or ideological boundaries. On an episode of her podcast, Jaguar doubled down and backed Candace to the fullest, saying the feds are flat out hiding crucial information from the public. And according to her, it's not about protecting the investigation like they claim. It's about shielding powerful people who could have had a hand in Charlie's suspicious death. The convergence of these various elements, the FBI's immediate involvement, the alleged conflicts with donors, the suspect's family's denials, and the questionable text messages, has created a perfect storm of skepticism about the official narrative. While no definitive alternative explanation has been established, the questions continue to multiply. As the investigation continues, the competing narratives have created significant public interest and speculation. Those questioning the official story, like Owens and Wright, maintain that important details are being withheld from the public for reasons that may involve protecting powerful interests. If the feds are actually shielding billionaires like Jaguar and Candace claim, that's massive trouble for the whole system. It ain't small. We're talking about power moves that could bury the truth and wreck lives. And that should scare everyone who cares about justice and transparency, articulating the broader implications of these allegations. While authorities continue to assert that the investigation is following proper protocols, the questions raised by Owens, Wright, and others have ensured that public scrutiny of the case remains intense. The situation highlights the tension between official narratives and alternative perspectives in high-profile cases, particularly those involving public figures with political connections. The ongoing discussion reflects broader concerns about transparency in investigations and the influence of powerful figures in society. We have a right to question the validity of it, and it's got to pass the smell test. There's something wrong with all of this, and everyone is starting to pick it out piece by piece, thread by thread. Everyone is starting to see something's wrong here. The question is why. As the case continues to develop, many are watching closely to see whether the questions raised will be addressed or whether they will remain unresolved, potentially adding this incident to the long list of controversial cases where official explanations fail to satisfy significant portions of the public.